All right, guys, now that we've done power and battery, it's time to go on to failsafe, okay? So with failsafe, this is where we're going to set some parameters up so that if there is a problem, let's say your radio quits communicating with your drone, or let's say you flip a switch, you have an emergency switch to flip, this is what's going to happen to the drone at that time, okay? So let's look at this. We're going to have two stages, stage 1 and stage 2. And stage 1 is going to be focused on the radio and the receiver, radio and the drone not communicating with each other during a certain time span, okay? So let's just simplify it like that and look at what the options are. Basically, what the default is from BetaFlight, it's good. That's what we're going to work with right now. And it's talking about a minimum amount, maximum length of time in the pulse settings, where if there's no pulse received, if there's no signal received to and from, back and forth, basically, the drone is going to kick into stage 1. But it is going to give a little bit of time to recover as well, okay? So let's look at this here. What we're talking about is if these go wrong, if there is something wrong with stage 1 and we want our controller or our drone to do something, here's what it's going to say. These are auto settings, okay? And then you can have your hold setting, for example. So let's just click throttle, okay? So let's take throttle and say, okay, so if we have our drone flying and we lose signal or we're not able to communicate radio to drone, you have the option here to have it auto itself, which would be set in here inside the flight controller. You have the option to set it to a hold, which means wherever it's at when it lost signal is where you want it to stay. Now think about that real quick. So let's say you're flying and you're flying away from yourself and all of a sudden you lose signal. The hold says, okay, great, hold it at this value. So watch, if I go to hold here, right? And then it's going to say right here, if you highlight it, it says hold means to maintain the last good value received. Auto means to, right there's your top, to center, and throttle, bring it down to low, okay? So basically what it's going to say, it's going to put it in horizon mode, so to speak. Everything's going to be centered value, and then it's going to drop the value of throttle to low, okay? So that's one option. Or you could click on set, all right? So let's just say auto is fine to use, but let's just say we wanted to set it for ourselves. So let's say, for example, you know that your drone, if you hover it at, let's say it starts at 1,000 and goes to 2,000, right, on your value on your throttle. So let's just say that you know that your drone can hover very low to the ground at, let's say, 1,100 value of throttle, okay? It's going to need more than that, but let's just say. So you could easily say, okay, I want to set my throttle right here to 1,100, okay? And what that's going to do, is it's going to basically cut your throttle from where it was when it lost signal, and it's going to bring it down to 1,100. Now, if you can't hover at 1,100, then it's going to basically slow your fall into the ground. So my thing here with everybody is you're not trying to necessarily save the drone more than you are trying to protect somebody else's property or person from getting hurt with your drone falling out of the sky rapidly. So I suggest that you pick a level of your throttle that does not allow it to remain flying, but rather allows it to slowly fall to the ground, just straight down. So you've got to find that out when you take off, and you'll find out where you're at, and wherever that point is, hover. Let's say hovers 1,100, and let's say at 1090. Let's say at 1090, it would slowly fall. Then you could set it to 1090, and if the drone flies away from you, then at 1090. So this is what it would look like. Let's just say, I guess I'll go 10. Okay, if I did that, right? Now for everything else, I want to set them to 1,500, just like this. Okay, and what that's saying is, hey, if my drone got away from me and I was going like this forward, and it's doing that and it gets away, then I want it to go straight and then just slowly lower down. Okay, this will be step 1. This is an example of step 1. Okay. The switches I would leave because you don't want it to switch anything off or do anything else, because what your hope is that maybe you regain signal, and if you do, you want to be able to take off from where you're at. So leave all the rest of them just like they are. And now let's look at stage 2. Okay, so here's the deal. What we have is we have a failsafe switch, and with a failsafe switch we can assign that, and I'll show you how to do all that later. But with a failsafe switch, if you flip that switch, you automatically go into failsafe mode. What this is telling you is if you do flip that switch, which setting do you want to see happen? Okay, you got stage 1 or stage 2, or you got kill. Kill is just motor's off, everything's off, bye-bye, it's going to come crashing down. So I'm very comfortable with stage 1, okay, and I think that you should leave it at stage 1 and just get your values dialed in the way they need to be, all right? In this case, I'll do 1090, but I will hover this drone later, and then I'll update the values for you, okay? So just check back in the notes here. Let's get to stage 2, though. So you can look at stage 2 here, and if you were to say, if you flip a switch at stage 2, So stage 2 says, look, this is going to be how much time does it take for something to go wrong, right? Let's just say you flipped a switch on your quad there to kick into failsafe, and you do that. Now it's going to say, okay, how much time before it reacts, right? So you're going to want this thing to react rather quickly, or you're going to want to flip that switch and then have the chance to turn it off before it kicks in. So if you look at the time here, it says it's set at a 4, all right? Now, this is 4/10 of a second. So you flip the switch, and in 4/10 of a second, your drone is going to start doing whatever you're telling it to do, all right? In this case, it's going to be, you're going to have your throttle right here. So if you look down right here at your screen, you can tell it you want it to land, okay? You can tell it to do a GPS rescue. There's quite a few things here you can tell it to do. Again, I would just say keep your switch set for stage 1 for now, because these values are going to be pretty good, and return to home is not exactly tested to perfection yet. So just leave it like this. So this is going to be your failsafe right here, 1500, 1500, 1500, and let's just say 1090 for now. All right, we may have to increase that later. And then that means that whether you lose radio signal or you flip the switch that we're going to set, if you flip the switch, you're going to have the same reaction, okay? Hope that helps, guys. That's going to be your failsafe. We're going to skip PID tuning. That's not for this course here. On your receiver, we will deal with that, but what we're going to do next is we're going to jump straight over to the motor section, which is a few down from there, because we want to check our motors now and see if they're set up properly, okay? We'll be right back.